in
continue the
retrospect,
meeting
maybe.
since it's already
Yeah.
past midnight?
Well, why don't we talk about office allocation?
Right, you can look, you can talk about allocation. We'll get
fine.
these heights done pretty
All right, good. Does somebody want to start deliberation on office allocation?
I'm a little
Gilbert, you said earlier, you gave us some numbers earlier. Would you like to
Oh, sure.
reiterate or get
Yeah,
us where you're at?
500,000 for corporate. 500. What's the difference? 500. Right.
You had, before you said major employer 540, which is
Yeah,
what it is
540, thank
today,
you.
550 otherwise, and then 2 million Vallco.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay. Who would like to talk about office allocation next?
I can go next.
Yep.
I second the 540 for major employers. 500 is the second category, and 2 million, I agree with Gilbert.
Okay. How about on this side?
Can I ask staff to put those numbers up on the chart as well, please?
Well, they may
office.
be busy.
The development allocation numbers?
No, the office. We're delivering on.
Right,
Oh, we'll write it down and give it to you later.
right.
Yeah, I think that may be easier because they're busy doing this other thing.
Sorry, we can,
Darcy?
I'm a little bit curious. Are we able to finish the housing element without touching the office allocation question today? We are. Okay, so why are we, I'm just wondering, why are we delving into this if it's the other part of the general plan amendment?
Fair enough. Good question.
From what I
There was
understood
consensus, at least on Vallco, that we wanted to do what it took to have have a specific plan brought forth. And the developer is pretty clear that he's looking for 2 million, a 2 million allocation to do a responsible job. I mean, that doesn't say that the plan that developer will come forth with is 2 million. But, my understanding, for example, is that there's a trade-off between you could have more office or more housing, and both of those have high value. The retail doesn't so much. And so if you're going to have a project that works, you have to have those components in some measure.
So is it possible not to provide the entitlement right now, but to accept a specific plan that proposes those particular numbers and then accept it at that point? No.
No, the one we give it to Vallco is subject to the specific plan, subject to the GP general plan amendment. It's not done here. Just give them the envelope so he can work on it. He have at least so he knows.
That's the way I would think about it, as an envelope.
Yeah,
Because it's
some
not,
figure to work on.
nobody's going to build a single square foot of office until a specific plan comes along.
And is approved.
Yeah.
And is approved, okay.
And I can't imagine us doing that without wide community support, whatever it looks like.
Okay. Then I would agree with previous numbers, but I would make the 2 million 1.2 million. So there was consensus on the
So was it 540, 500, 1.5? You said
1.2.
1.2. Okay.
Yes.
So 540, 500, 1.2.
Well, I think you were questioning whether we had to do anything on the other office allocation. Are you in favor of?
Well, I think if
Not-
we're going to delve into that, then we should.
You're willing to? Okay,
Right. I
fine.
mean, it's
Fair enough.
It's office.
I'm not asking you not to. Barry?
So for major employer, 500 is 500 or 540?
It's currently 540. My understanding of our other pool is it's down to like 13 or 30. It's some really small number.
Okay, so 540, fine.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
On the other 500 unit, I think that's a little bit too small, not enough.
Okay.
Because I talked to one of the Stevens Creek office. If they want to do it, they need at least 150,000. And then if you have 3 or 4 need 150, this will eat out fairly soon. So in case
Yep.
we don't want to have a situation like what they encounter, that they don't have enough space, so people have the major company has to move out, or not major company, the company has to move out. So I would say the other area I would up to 1 million square feet.
Okay.
So we don't need to come back and then make a general plan amendment again. And then for Vallco, 2 million square feet, I will go for it because that to see if he give him a chance to to work on it, to make
Okay.
it successful.
So where I'm at on this is, yeah, I think of this all as an envelope, and we're placing some amount of housing element there. I would actually expect, it wouldn't surprise me not if a project came back with more housing than 389 to make the project successful. And, you know, we don't have a decision to make about it tonight because there is no general plan, there is no specific plan to consider. So it may be, right, in working with a community that there are a couple of alternatives delivered, one considered and put forth, one with more office and one with more housing, but I think there'll be a mix of it. So I'm fine with the suggested envelope, and I would, however, like to see at the end of this period ending May 31st, 2018, if a specific plan isn't brought forth, I would like to kill the allocation and then move it, some of it, into the general pool, but
Yeah.
probably not, certainly not all of it. And the planning.
If you don't move it to
Oh, wait a
general
minute,
pool,
I'm deliberating now.
Okay, sure.
Sorry. But the way I look at it is we have built a lot of office in town recently. And Apple Campus is 2.8 million. If we get Vallco to go, it'll be a substantial number, and I would just as soon hold down the general pool. I know that may frustrate some of the developers in town, and frankly, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with slowing it down a bit, slowing the office down. We can do, at a later date, a general plan amendment again. We can do 4 of them a year, right? Where we could increase the office allocation again, or would we be into a long, year-long EIR process?
Yes, you will.
Ooh,
It-
okay.
It's not within that time frame we're talking about.
Let's say 3 years and 1 day. Let's say it's June 1st.
I think you're going to have to do some EIR work if it's 3 years.
So how long is that? How much effort is that?
How long does it take to do an EIR? About a year.
You like
Okay.
to do that, huh?
Well, no. Okay, all right. So it's not like,
We could always start early, but it's a lot of energy
Okay.
for the community and the,
And then, Rod, you do
Council.
have the control up here on the council that whatever it may be, 500, 550, or 750, that when the project itself comes forward, and there's community input of a strong opposition,
Okay.
it will get opposed.
all right.
So it's better to
So
plug
I
in a
didn't
number
quite
than nothing.
understand this was as onerous as it.
It is.
How did you come up with your 550? Can you enlighten me? I could be persuaded.
The 550 would be about 150K for Stevens Creek office,
Okay.
and about 400 something for Prometheus.
Okay. What about Oaks, Marina, or any of these other sites? No.
So, according to plans I saw for Marina, I did not see any office. And then
Okay.
for the Oak Shopping Center, they would have to go through an ERR because we did not study for an ERR on Oak
Oh,
Shopping Center.
okay. All
So
right.
for the Oaks, so that's why I didn't want
So
to go.
your number sounds actually pretty well informed.
Right. I don't want to go too much because I have the same concern as you.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
afraid I missed the numbers. If I heard 2 million at Vallco just in
Yeah.
Plan A.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
550,000 for general office,
550 for general office.
but we haven't reached consensus yet.
Okay, just a discussion. Thank you.
Right.
Mine is 1 million for the general pool.
Right. Okay. I'm to finish my deliberation on this. Again, I'm okay with 2 million Vallco, and I'm okay with leaving the major company allocation at 540, which is where it currently is, and I support Gilbert's number at 550. And what I would say further, though, is that at 3 years and 1 day, that the 2 million expires.
It expires.
Yeah, so it goes to zero
I agree.
if by the 6/1/2018 we don't have a specific plan that the community supports has gone through the entitlement process here. Does anybody have a feeling about that? Are you okay letting the 2 million expire along with the housing element at the end of 3 years?
Well, at the end of 3 years, you have to redo the EIR anyway, so it doesn't matter if you stay or you leave it.
Well, no, I'm sorry, this regards Vallco.
I mean, the same, I mean.
Right.
Right?
All right, so is staff ready to report back?
We don't really have consensus on the general office.
Oh, I see, sure. So,
We have 2,500, 2,550, and 1 million.
okay.
I mean, you're talking about this is 8-year plan.
Well, we're talking about it as a 25-year plan, but as a,
25,
No.
if a 25-year plan, this is too
I know,
little.
but one can expect that this will get revisited. I mean, there's a major variable in here called Vallco. Vallco's going to go or it's not going to go. And when that is clear and known, I think that will create the environment for us to much better understand. So I can expect that we will be doing this again. Wouldn't surprise me if we're doing it again in 8 years.
Or less.
Yeah. And I'm okay kind of putting the brakes on too much office at this point.
I agree.
Comments from staff?
Nope.
Okay. So we
So
have,
was there 3 people for 550? Because I didn't hear it.
you and I are at 550. We have Savita and Darcy at 500. Anybody want to come up?
I was at 550 for
You will.
for the general.
All right. Savita, does that work for you?
I'm trying to negotiate 35 more housing units for seniors. Yeah, I'll say yes to the 50,000 additional if somehow we can get that 35 in planning.
How many weeks you been on the job?
Yeah, 2 days.
Okay.
The seniors are not going to add any school traffic. That I know for sure, even if there are 2 people in the home.
Okay, Barry, you sticking with your million?
Yeah.
They'll come back and bring us your
Okay. We have 3 at 550 at this time, 1 low and 1 high.
Developers.
So I would say we have a consensus. I bet we can get consensus at 550. Yes?
Sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
We have, at this time, Gilbert, Darcy, Rod at 550. Barry is much higher at 1 million, and Savita is a little bit lower at 500. So I would say I see a consensus at 550 by a 3-2 straw vote. We're uniform on the 540, and we have 4 that are willing to go to 2 million envelope on Vallco. So I think we also have consensus on those 2.
Can we do some easy ones while staff is...
Okay.
On PG&E, I would like that to remain as quasi-public.
Okay. Anybody want to weigh in on that?
Can you define that a little bit?
Can staff help me on that, please?
I'm going to say that
Define quasi-public.
Right. Quasi-public is basically uses that are institutional type uses, like, federal agencies or agencies of some sort, or the city. So they're public or quasi-public agencies, institutional, which are not private for-profit agencies. So it's a special zoning. And it is such because it's a PG&E site. You'll find that Caltrans, sites like that are usually zoned quasi-public.
So, for example, anything that's quasi-public will be schools, churches, utility companies, and staff was just suggesting putting an overlay of commercial over the quasi-public. And I think that for a utility company side, that for the community of Cupertino and Santa Clara County, it should always remain quasi-public government, non-government sites. So I just don't feel comfortable putting commercial over it.
Can we discuss deliberation from the November 10th meeting? Is that
You can do whatever you like. It's a matter of public
okay?
record.
So what I heard was PG&E themselves were not interested in changing anything.
That's right.
So what What are we deciding here? I mean, I don't get
Right.
that.
So maybe I can go through why this even came up as an issue very briefly. This came up because our economic development manager at the time had been contacted by a number of retailers who were looking for large sites in Cupertino. And we knew that the council was interested in trying to identify large sites. We don't have that many. At one point, Main Street was one, right? Because sales tax is always a good tax generator. And so we identified the PG&E as a potential site that could have a commercial layer that wouldn't change anything for PG&E, but in the future, it could be revised, and that's why we studied it. We don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. PG&E said they are not likely to make any big changes, but they're not opposed to the change. Staff doesn't have any strong feelings. The council's free to decide whatever they wish on the site, and we'll keep it the same, if that's what the wish is.
Okay.
I'm happy to agree with Gilbert. We can
On
keep
this
it the
side?
same. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to make sure that we're not doing the entire GPA as a piecemeal tonight. It seems like that's sort of where we're going, right? I mean, I was under the impression that we were going to stop at housing element, and then we have.
Hold your applause, please.
I mean, with all due respect, but I think that if we agreed to go ahead and, delay out the rest of the GPA consideration, then we should have a pretty clear stopping point. I mean, even though this may seem like a pretty straightforward.
I hear you.
Yeah.
No, we did have, that's right, we did
Okay,
have
with that-
consensus on that.
Right. With that understanding, if PG&E doesn't want it themselves,
Yeah.
and given the history, then, yeah, I would agree. Don't change it.
Okay.
And I want to add go ahead, Barry.
PG&E did not ask for it while we discussed it. I don't understand.
I gave some.
We're going to
The
limit to
prior
housing.
council did,
Prior council wanted staff to look at
yep,
sites
I remember.
where commercial
Yep.
could be placed, and we looked at sites, and we didn't want to put them in
Right,
neighborhoods.
but I want to
so-
stop right here because we say earlier that we're looking at the housing element site related to GPA, and then the PG&E has nothing to do with it.
Okay, so I think I'm going to suggest that we defer this as Darcy's. I mean, in November 10th, I also supported leaving it in that quasi-public designation, but I actually respect, Darcy, your thought on this and think that this is, if we wait until we consider the other elements of the general plan at a later date, if the consensus here anyway is that we just leave it alone, we might as well just defer that decision until that later date, right? That's what
And
we
I also
wanna
agree
do,
too.
right?
I mean, I think what I was trying to do is, Darcy, is that just maybe take some easy straw votes, which I think are the easy ones, but for the whole GPA, it sounded like from staff, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're not going to approve anything beyond the housing element site because we still want another month to get up to speed for some of the other council members. But at least for the easy ones, like there's a lot of controversial ones I didn't even bother bringing up because I think that we need time. But the low-hanging fruit, I just wanted to just get those straw votes and then do the harder ones
Right.
a month later.
With major office allocation, I think that makes sense. I mean, with respect, when we get to the other office allocations, the 550 we're talking about, I mean, I think that's kind of getting into the other parts of the general plan amendment that are not necessarily related
It's also
to
true.
the housing element. And
We
where
won't
I-
be going into allocations because I'm not comfortable with that either.
Okay.
Okay.
And where I start worrying about when we talk about the Vallco allocation is that we might be giving away a pretty significant bargaining chip here. If we've already given the housing element, and I'm not saying I agree with 389, I still think that we should try to keep it around 300. But if we're already going there on a foothold, to me, I think we're still kind of holding out some hope that there is some flexibility for residential input for something that is not just feasible to the residents, but also economically successful. Because there are black boxes. There are things that we don't know. and it would be good to gather some data. I mean, we can always come back in 2 weeks and say 2 million square feet of.
So,
And
so what I hear you're saying is you would say, we did have a consensus that we wanted to deal with Vallco, but I think you make a fair point in saying we don't have to do the other office allocations tonight, because that's more fairly part of stuff that has nothing to do with the housing element per se.
Right. And when I agreed about Vallco, I agreed about
Can I
the
make
housing
one-
element portion of
I
Vallco.
understand, but can I make one point?
Yes.
Is that we all said tonight that a lot of people said that for their campaign is that we wanted to revitalize Vallco.
Okay, yeah.
And in order to revitalize Vallco, there's these couple of components,
So,
housing,
Yeah.
retail, and office.
right. My belief is we have consensus that we would like to give Vallco the allocation that they've asked for them to go and work on a specific plan.
That's where we're going to. And that's
Yes.
where we have the hammer, is that we're not rezoning
no,
for
I-
office.
yeah.
We're not rezoning
Right.
for housing.
Right.
But they need the GPA
Right.
in order to go do the SP. If they don't have the GPA, they cannot do the SP. They're just dead. They're just going to sit and hold the property.
But having
or
said
sell
that,
it.
having said that we're interested in Vallco doesn't compel us to come up with a final number for the other office allocation tonight, and doesn't compel us to do anything about the major office allocation tonight. We can take more input, and you who are new can have more time to study this, because frankly, if we're not really doing all the rest of the work on building height, setbacks, and all the rest of it, it's kind of immaterial, right? The office allocation in the rest of the city?
I feel like office allocation is kind of a package conversation because it's a significant component of the economic vibrancy of the community.
Yes.
And when you're looking at office allocation and you're talking about major office, right now in town you're talking about one company, right? And you're talking about being able to support an ecosystem that has office space. And so I think it's a bit of a package deal. I mean, for me, I think it's all or nothing. And I'm kind of gravitating towards nothing at this point because we can always come back in 2 weeks. We can come back in 1 month and have this conversation. I think that we should keep the door open for the possibility that there is something that is housing related that could be put into there, but also has a heavy retail component. And the reason why I balk at 2 million square feet is that the mall right now has 1.2 million square feet. 2 million square feet is already 800,000 square feet more than what exists there. And you're not even touching housing, and you're not touching what people want, which is retail, right? So that's why I proffered up 1.2, because to me, that seems like a pretty big concession to say that let's take the existing square footage that's there right now and transfer that over to office and add other stuff on top of that. So that's why I'm at 1.2.
Okay.
The
Can we
developer
hear-
was asking for 600 units.
I understand. So why don't we take it this way? Let's talk about whether or not we are willing to go again on Vallco, because the consensus before was we did want to act on Vallco so that they have time to come back with a specific plan within this 3-year window. And the clock is ticking on that. And there's nothing we can do to reset the clock if we want to include them in the housing element in this cycle. And we have consensus that we do. So once again, Barry, are you okay with the Vallco allocation tonight, independent of the other office?
Yes.
Okay, and Savita?
Yes, if it doesn't affect the general plan. From
Right.
what I understood, we had to do the big allocations today, what affect the housing element.
Well,
If the 500 and the 540
what we have to
nothing-
do, what we have to do today, if we want to get Vallco going, I think, is we have to say you have an office allocation. I don't think we have to do the rest of it.
Then I'm okay with just doing
Okay.
Vallco.
And Gilbert?
So I just want to verify again that if we give them the 2 million office for Vallco, do we need to do anything on the GPA? Just once again.
That is the GPA. I mean, that is a part of the
So that
GPA.
means that we're making a change.
on that item, that, 'cause the allocations are part of the GPS.
But we
just
do
wanna
not,
clarify
we do
with my
not have to
colleagues.
do the other office
No.
pool tonight.
No, no.
No,
Yeah, only just
Okay.
for Vallco.
All right?
Just want to make that clear.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah,
Yes.
okay. So I think we
You guys
have
wanna
4
make sure
votes
we're-
to
we're
do
on
the
the same
Vallco
page.
allocation. Does anybody want to make a case for formalizing another office or major developer allocation tonight, or deferring that? Do you have any
Then-
preference?
Yeah, you're going back to what Darcy Paul, either you do all those right now, or you.
Well, I don't agree at all with that. I think you can.
Well, me too. I would just rather do the office tonight, because I mean, you already have 3 people.
Okay.
Who's willing to do that? I mean,
Well,
Barry,
I
were you
know.
willing to compromise at
No,
540?
just only for Vallco. The rest of it, I'm not going to talk. It's 12:40 right now. If we continue talking, we probably will be here till 4 o'clock again. I don't want to do that.
Savita?
I specifically asked that we only discuss the housing element today, and from what I understood, what the staff said was we needed to do something about the office allocations. Now I'm understanding that was only related to Vallco. In that case, I'd just like to leave it at that and take everything else at a later date.
So I'm there too. I see, if heights and setbacks are a great big deal, and nobody's going to come in and do a project, office or otherwise, unless they have some clear guidance around what we would allow. So I would suggest deferring, making a new allocation for other office until we have our follow-up meeting.
Sounds good.
So it sounds like we have 3 on that, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Where are